Well, hi everybody, it's Petri again. Thanks for coming by. We're going to have a great time painting this beautiful seascape, lighthouse painting. And it's got wonderful light and shadows, really interesting colors, kind of used kind of like a more relaxed color scheme here. We didn't get into too many different colors. We kind of kept our palette, with just maybe, half a dozen colors, mostly greens and umbers, and then a little bit of blue, of course, for the sky and the ocean. And some of the shadows, again, were some blues, some cerulean blues. But we have a lot of fun ahead of us, so let's get started. I just want to thank you all for coming by again and joining along. So this is the finished painting, and then I'll zoom out just a little more here. This is the finished painting here. And we'll get started in just a second. We'll do a sketch. We'll lay everything out first. We'll do our layout, of course, with our tape and our hash marks around the painting. This way we have a good guide for when we go in and start doing our drawing, and we'll do our pencil drawing. And then finally we'll get in and we'll start doing all the paint. And then we'll finish up at the end with lots of details, touching up the paint. We'll cover all the steps and methods and techniques we use to create this painting. And I'm really happy you're here. Let's have some fun and we'll get started. Okay, we're getting started again here. We just saw the finished painting, so you're well aware of the painting, the look, the colors, the style. It's a gorgeous lighthouse, so we're going to just do our quick design layout. We'll do our layout. We just try to get some marks on our tape. We usually always tape around here. You'll always see me. I try to tape, most times I always tape around the outer perimeters of my watercolor paper. This happens to be hot pressed smooth paper this time. I'm going to use some smooth paper. I like to once in a while try different papers just to see how they work out and how they look. So most times I'll use Fabriano Artistico paper, the rough Artistico. I'll also use Arches rough a lot, and then this is Arches hot press, which is the smooth paper. So it's the pink cover. I use the gummed blocks a lot of times. Sometimes too I just use very inexpensive paper too, like practice paper. So it just depends, if I'm what mood I'm in. If I'm trying to paint something though really like that I'm going to frame to put into a show or into a gallery, or I'm painting something for someone as a gift, or if I'm painting something that I'm going to try to have in stock to sell, or to again put into shows or galleries, whatever it is. A couple paintings is always good to have, stockpile, maybe a dozen or more, if you can build up a little bit of a stockpile of paintings this way. If you happen to, someone asks, or wants you to maybe show your painting somewhere, you have some stored, or on hand to use. So I always try to have that. So, and I like to try different papers too. So this way I can kind of see different effects you get with different papers and so forth. So we'll try some hot press paper here, some Arches hot pressed, and it's the gum pad. I think this one's like a 9x12. Let me take a look here. So this is, this is a 9x12 pad. And we'll get started by doing our layout. We'll kind of find out where our light source is. And what I'd like to do is, once I do this on the paper, then I'll erase it. Because sometimes that's a little bit of a distraction when you have black marks around the outside of your paper. So some of you might not like that, or it might distract you if you're seeing the little hash marks around the tape. So you can always take a little bit of some nail polish remover or whatever, and you can take off the marks, the Sharpie marks on the tape if you want. Or you can retape over the top of it with a second row of tape, or you could paint some white paint on there. So what I'm going to do is just look at the The image I'm looking at is copyrighted, so I can't show it online. It would be considered I'm using someone else's material. So, but I always encourage everyone, please use my finished painting as your guide to paint from. You know, you can draw from my finished drawing, and then you can paint from my finished painting. That's the best way to do it, because this way you're actually looking at all the colors just the way they are, and then that's what you're going to want to be matching and trying to get that match of colors and the match of tonal values. If you're working from a photograph, you might not have as much ability to kind of match the colors and the tonal values of the painting. So we'll do it that way. So this painting is sort of halfway point is the ocean, the distant ocean, and we can always use a ruler if we want to keep a good. This is a T-square, so you can put it on the edge, and this way it's perfectly straight across the painting as long as you have it butted up against the edge of the block or the paper. So this is the other side of the ocean. That's ocean level. And from there we would sort of say, okay, we're looking at it, and the lighthouse is about 3/4 of the way over, not quite, about a little bit less than 3/4 of the way over. So if this is the halfway point of the sheet of paper here, like this, and then this is another half of that distance from here to here, it's about right in the middle of here. So that's about where the lighthouse is. So now we just put that mark here, and that's the lighthouse. Then the height of the lighthouse is almost to the top of the paper, so we could put about here. So the lighthouse top is here, and it's centered here in this location. Then we have there's a house next to the lighthouse. So we will look at that and say that's almost to the edge over here of the paper. So we'll make our marks up here and say it's about here. And this is the house. And then the house is about, if the lighthouse is here, it's about at the center mark. So we could put house here too. So it falls between these two marks here. And that's about good. The house is about the same height as the lighthouse, just a little bit less maybe. So we'll put house here too. So you can just see I'm putting my hash marks. It makes it a lot easier, because now when we go in to start drawing this, you've already got your hash marks around your tape on your paper. So you take your time right now before you're even in there drawing and sketching and doing your drawing. You're already laying out where everything has to be approximately. And then after a while you'll get so used to this that you might not even have to do the hash marks. You'll just be able to look at everything and kind of get a feel like, oh yeah, this is halfway across the paper, and it's a little bit down from the top of the border of the paper. So after a while you get the feel for it, but in the beginning it's good. Or even if you just want to have that confidence of putting some hash marks, I would do it. I still like to do it myself most times. And I'll put the rectangle border there. And this is the water, the ocean. And then the, let's see, the ocean's a little bit higher. So then maybe here's the bottom of the house. And the bottom of the lighthouse too. That lighthouse is about here. I'm going to contour draw this, but still nice to know that I have some notes on here. Excuse me. And, you know, if I have my notes on my paper here, I feel more comfortable as I start drawing, sketching, laying things out. It's going to go easier for me. And then here we have where the lighthouse is, there's a pathway. It's like a boardwalk that starts here, and it starts about here, over here, and it goes in on a diagonal, a pathway, a boardwalk. It's like a small wooden boardwalk that goes in here, like this, into the picture toward the lighthouse, and then it angles in toward the lighthouse. So at least I know it's about there. And then I'll put here maybe just BDWLK for boardwalk, with a line saying that it's, maybe if the ocean is here, it's going to be a good distance down from the ocean, probably about here. So that's the BWK, boardwalk. Just a couple initials is fine. And this is the ocean. So I think we have everything pretty good here. And that's enough information that we can start our preliminary sketch. So the first thing we like to do is preliminary sketch. And that's just doing everything really, really lightly first, just to kind of get everything on the paper and look at it and say, okay, you know, it looks good, or I might need to adjust something here and there. With all our hash marks, I think we're going to have a good start here. So let's do this. Okay, so we said the house is here. It starts about here, and it's over about here. So we'll make our point there and say, all right, we're going to start our house here. And we're going to go up. And we say the top of the house is about here. And it kind of goes in a little. And the bottom half is a little bit smaller than the top half. So that should be okay like that. And then I'm going to go up like this. And then it goes in like this, the roof. Then I come back down. And maybe I go across like this. And then I go up like this. And then sometimes I also say to myself, I might not need to do a second sketch. I might just use this as my my final drawing, because it's kind of going well, and I think we might be able to just use this as our final drawing. Okay. Like so. And then there's a chimney here. And these windows come down like so. And these are dormer windows here. And I just try to make the lines correct. And these are the windows here, so I just make the two windows here. You can use a ruler if you want to get straighter lines. So if you're just starting out and you feel like you want to get things pretty accurate, you can use a ruler. I had one here on my table. I don't see it right now. I'll use this one here. I had the half ruler. Oh, here it is. So, and I forgot to check to see if I'm in focus here, but I'll fix that in a minute. But you can use a half a ruler maybe. So if you feel like you really want to get perfectly accurate windows, you can use a ruler like so, and get them a little more accurate. If you feel you want to do that, that's good. It's up to you. You're the artist. You have to create your paintings as you want, and sometimes a ruler is good to use. And so we're going to go here now and do this side of the house. And there's a There's some leaders here for the drain, for the gutters. There's some downspouts, and then there's the gutters up on top here. And there's going to be some shadowing. And sometimes you'll see fine lines. I wouldn't get carried away a lot of times with too many lines and details. Like if you see 5 or 6 lines, if you're looking at a photograph on maybe a section like this where there's the roof and then it meets the wall here, where the roof meets the walls down here at the bottom. If you see 5 or 6 lines going across, like I wouldn't go in with the ruler and start drawing every line or drawing every line freehand like this, because it's a painting, it's art, so you don't have to get too incredibly detailed, but you want to kind of capture the essence of everything. So I'll do the couple of lines here just to show that there's some detail here, some gutters, some boards under there, some trim boards, and then there's a shadow from the sunlight that goes across there. I'm going to capture that, and then right there where that light is, that shadow is, that's where the tops of the windows are here. So now I'm looking at this and I'm saying the center of the building is here, the house, like that, and there's a door that's at the center, like so, like that, and then there's some stairs here. Like that, and there's the ground, and there's a little bit of details at the bottom here, the foundation. There's some little small darks here, that might be the vents for the foundation underneath, and there's some rocks and whatever. So I won't go too detailed in that area. And then there's some back on the side of the house here, there's some bushes here, like that. Now here we could make a decision and say, even though there's bushes on the side over here, I'd like to have the ocean, I'd like to see the ocean on this side of the house over here. So this is where I would erase those lines there, and I'm going to put the ocean in across there. I mean, we could always put a bush maybe here, but then we're going to go across with our line, with our ruler where the ocean is, like that. So we'll do that now. So this is the ocean here, and there's the lighthouse over here and everything, so we're not going to see it in some areas, but I'll just put it in for that line. And now's the perfect time to take a break. Let's take a break. And I always mention too, as we're taking a break, hey, please subscribe. Consider subscribing to my channel here, because we're actually week after week and month after month, even year after year, we're here, we're doing everything watercolors. I want you to get all the latest information on watercolors, the methods, the techniques, the different styles you can do in watercolor, the different subject matter. We do it all. We do seascapes, architecture, lighthouses, boats. We do landscapes. We do figure painting. We do flowers, still life. We do all kinds of interesting subject matter, but we do everything in watercolor. So you're going to learn so much about techniques and methods when you're doing all the different subject matter that we do here on this channel. So I want you to get all that information and have fun with it, learn about it, and your paintings are going to get much better. So I'm hoping you're going to stick with me here week after week as we create more videos on YouTube every week. And we're going to have a great time. I'll cover all the details for you. Please leave me comments in the comment section if you have any questions at all. Don't be afraid to leave comments, because you might think someone's going to make fun of you or think you don't know what you're doing. If you have a question about anything, tools, what pencils, brushes, paints, techniques, whatever it is, if you have a question, you just put it in the comment section. No worries, I'll answer you back on what I think is the best thing that I can, what I have found in my experiences as a watercolor artist. Sometimes I'm not going to have all the answers to every question, but if you ask the question, hey, I'll try to answer it if I can, and maybe if I don't have an answer right away, I can research it for you and maybe find out some other answers that someone else might have, or I can research it for you. Okay, all right, so let's take a quick break, and we'll come right back and continue with our drawing. We've already made a lot of progress. We'll continue on with the lighthouse next. Okay, so we're starting back up again, and we are working now on our lighthouse area. We'll finish up the house here. This is some really nice white clapboards on the side of this house here. It's a beautiful shore house, and it's got a wood roof, a wood shake roof on this lower section, and then up here I think there's shingles up top on this top section of the roof. And this is a gambrel roof, a very popular style roof. And let's continue on here. So I notice when I'm looking at my photograph, there's the windows are right up to the shadow that we drew there. And there is about an equal amount of space on each side of the windows. Like that. And it's the windows over here are the same thing. They're equal amounts of space. Like that. And then there's 3 windows in here. So I equally space the windows like that. And they're a little bit thicker in between here. Like that. And there's a sill underneath these. So I'll just put that sill in there. It's just a little bit of a extra feature to the bottom of the window, and it extends past the sides of the window a little bit. Gives it that kind of feeling like it's resting upon the sill of the here at the bottom of the window, that sill, windowsill. And up here, this tops of the windows are touching the shadow that we drew across there, so that's fine. And we have some railings here. And we'll just do those 2 railings like so. And then there's a concrete foundation that goes up about to the height of the bottom of the doorway, the door here. So I'm going to put that's concrete. Like that. Okay, so that's good. And I think we have all the details. There's a shadow over here from the sunlight. The sunlight's coming from the right-hand side. Let's put that into this scene here, just the light, our light insignia. It's coming from the right-hand side of the scene, this painting. And let's see now. There's some buildings over here. Some might be like a small extension from this house over to the lighthouse. So what I'm seeing is it starts about over here and slowly slopes down this way. And then angles, and then I look up at my picture and hold my pencil up. And I get the angle that's about like that. And it's a very small amount of roof there, like that. Then there's another gable end here like that for this other roof. So there's another part of this building over here that sits like this, and then the angle is like this, and it doesn't always turn out perfectly, so. And this abuts the lighthouse like that. That is like so. And the bottom of this building is approximately the same or a little bit lower than the concrete foundation here. So that's about good. So I'm always trying to line things up. So as I'm drawing away from the house and doing these extensions to the house over this way, I'm trying to get the size of these roofs and these buildings over here pretty much by looking over here in the picture that I'm looking at and saying, all right, where is the bottom of this compared to here? And then I say, oh, it's where the top of the foundation is. This house extension of the house is just a little bit over from there. I mean, a little bit lower than there, and that's what we did here. So we have that a little lower there, and then there's a window there. And there's this here. Goes over like so. Like that. And there's the boardwalk that goes over here. And then the lighthouse, let's get that started. That is over here. It lines up right. The lighthouse, when I look at my picture across from me, or we could be out at the beach now doing a painting or a drawing of this scene in front of us. So we would just be doing the same thing. Just we keep referencing either the photo or the picture or the scene in front of us if we're out plein air by the ocean or anywhere you might be sitting, looking at any kind of scenery and you're drawing it. You're just looking back and forth at the scene and then back at the painting and trying to line things up and say, all right, now I'm going to draw my lighthouse next. Where is that lighthouse sitting? Like where does it fall? Where I'm going to start it upon the top of that ridge of that roof. And then I say, oh, it's about halfway across. So then I make a point here, halfway across that roof, and then I know that's where I'm starting my lighthouse. And then my lighthouse is at a decent angle. It's not straight. The line is on an angle, so I'm going up on an angle. This is again a place you could take a ruler if you need to kind of feel an angle a little bit, and you say, how do I get that angle? You can take your ruler and make your ruler straight and then turn it just a little bit like that and then make your line. So I'm doing this now here. Then I'm looking where's the top of the beginning of the top portion of the lighthouse where the steel members are across the top of the lighthouse. And I look across and I say, well, it's a little bit higher than here, this point of the roof. So I still have to go up a little more. That's about good, a little bit higher. Then I make a slight angle like that, where that top of the lighthouse steel catwalk is. Then I will take the other side of the lighthouse and just go down like so. And this goes down to the grass area, which is almost like this, like that. And then that goes across like so, that grass area. And then there's some brush over here and weeds and a little more things like that. And then I'm going to simplify this scene a little bit. So I'm going to say how far past the edge of this side of the lighthouse is this boardwalk area that leads to the lighthouse. And I would say it's about that much there. And then it goes this way here. And then we can do it. I would stick with the photograph. But sometimes you can enhance things and make it a little bit more dramatic if you want to. Like that. And there's a dark line like so. I'm just going to have that path go like this for my purposes. There might be another little section of boardwalk over here, but I'm just going to let that go for now. I'm not going to worry about it. And again, hey, as an artist, you have the perfect good sense to change things around if you want to when you're painting. So if you're out on location or you're painting from a photograph, whatever it is, feel free to delete some stuff out if you feel like, oh, you know what, I'm going to delete out some of the subject matter. Maybe there's like an awkward something, some subject matter over here that looks kind of awkward and it might be difficult to draw, you know, and you're saying to yourself, I'm doing all this gorgeous work here, and then all of a sudden I got to start dealing with something that looks like it's going to be really difficult to draw. Then you don't do it. Just say don't worry about it, leave it out. Or if you want to add something into your painting too, you can do that. So you might say, oh, this looks a little bit, you know, like there's not much going on over here. Maybe I'll add something over here. Maybe you might add, you know, something that you can create in your imagination, or you can research a couple different things. You might say, I want to put a small hut over here, or a boat over here, something like that maybe, or a car, and you could do that too, and you could put that over on this side if you wanted to. I'm going to leave it more simple looking, just the ocean, the weeds and things over here on the right, and then the grass. There's some grass here. This is all grass. There's some weeds here in the foreground. We're definitely going to do that. Those go like so, and those go right up to the boardwalk. And so we have that. And we're going to finish up our lighthouse now. So we have our lighthouse here, and we'll put our railings up here. And we just want to put a little bit of a radius to this. You know, we want to make when we're doing lighthouses, there's a tendency to maybe make it more square, like this. We just try to get that little bit of a radius on that, a little bit of an arch. And the same thing for the underside of this here, like so. Same thing for the railings. So if you just put that little bit of that radius like that and like this, you know, it looks so much better because we're looking up at it in the scene. It's up high, the tower, the lighthouse. So if we do that, it's going to look better. It's going to. So I'm trying to capture that bit of radius to those portions of the lighthouse here. And then here we're going to do the main light. So this is the light of the lighthouse. And again, I try to do the same thing. And that you can see underneath here. And then we have the cone of the top of the lighthouse like that. And there's a ball on the top of the cone. And then there's a weather vein up here, I think. And I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so that's our lighthouse, and then we'll put the windows in. And then I say to myself, where are the windows on the lighthouse? Right across from here, it looks like that's one. So I'll put that one there. And then there's another one over here, and it's about a little bit lower than this roof, and it's right alongside the edge here. So we'll do that one like that. And there's another window over here, like so. So I've just blocked these in simply, and I didn't get any real super minute details on windows and like the grills and the windows and things like that. On the front, I would do that here. So I'll maybe put those on, the sashes of the windows, like that. Maybe we'll go for a more simple approach on this painting. We're not going to go too much into incredible detail. Let's kind of keep it simple. So this is good. The only thing I could think of is maybe just some of the, I'll put some lines on this, just so I remember that these are shakes and shingles up here. So I'll just do this like that. Just put some lines on there so you kind of remember. That's what I do here. I'm just trying to help myself remember what what is actually here. Because once I start getting into the paints and I mix the paints and I start painting, I get so enthusiastic about painting, I sometimes forget like what I'm actually, I'll lose track sometimes. So I always try to add some little marks on the paper just to kind of keep me on track, make sure that I don't forget that I need to do a certain texture or color on a certain area. So we have this. I think this is fine. All right, perfect. All right, I'm going to take another quick break just to relax a few minutes, and then we'll start the painting, and we're going to have some fun with this, and we'll just keep it real simple. We'll mix lots of different colors to keep the painting looking really interesting and exciting, but we're not going to, again, go overboard with too many details. We'll try to keep it simple and see how it looks, and then you can be the judge and see how you're going to do your painting. So when you start your painting, you might want to do more detail than I do, but you might want to keep it more simple too, or you might even want to go even more simple than I'm doing, more of an abstract kind of look where you're not really going for super high details on this painting. But it's up to you totally. All right, so I'll be right back and we'll start the painting. Okay, so we're getting started again, and we're going to begin painting. I like to, for this painting, I want to just basically mix a lot of color in my palette and then just really get the some of these sections done pretty quickly. So I'll do the roof first of the house here. And I'm looking at it, and it's got a lot of browns and siennas. So I'm going to go right in. Raw umber. There's some burnt sienna, definitely there's some green, olive green, some cerulean blue. So I'm kind of looking at the colors and saying that's going to look pretty good. And some burnt umber maybe too. And then I'm just going to start out and use these colors here, and I think I can get a pretty good. Here's a shadow under this section of the roof here, a little bit darker. I'll go in there, then maybe get a little darker blue, just to put a few spots a little darker. And that's going to lighten up a little bit. But I'll put that little bit of French ultramarine blue there. And let me see, what do we have there? Raw umber. There's a shadow there. I'm just gonna try to notice where the light's coming from here, so I'm looking at the shadows. Some shadows I might wait till later to put in after this dries. And then I'm going to pick up these greens and blues and just try to, I don't think I'm going to do the I think I'm going to avoid trying to paint the shingles in and the shakes. I'm just going to try to mix around, get some different colors, like so. And I can do this. This kind of helps, a couple lines as I go. And then a couple of these, maybe a couple. Like so. Pick up some greens here. Okay, good. Now the top's a little bit lighter. There's more light striking the top, so I'll just stick right there with this. A little more blue, a little more raw umber. That looks good. I'm resting my hand on the paper so that I can keep my brush accurate on the paper. And it's a little bit darker up top. More green, a little more. Maybe I'll put in a little bit of that French ultramarine blue just to get a little darker. Rinse off my brush, dry off the water on a tissue a little bit so I don't flood the paper too much with too much water. And it looks like it's coming along good. A little more color, some blue. And then I can just do a couple of these quick lines like that. This is a little lighter here. I might lift up a little bit of paint with a tissue. That looks good. Okay. And I'm just carefully looking at everything and getting in my window, the panes of the window. And I'm just taking my time here. And there are some more details on these windows, but I'm going to let them go. Sometimes it's better to let things dry a little bit. So I would let things dry a little, and then you can do some more details on the windows. Like I would add a little bit of lighter wash on the sides of these windows here. But that might look good. We might leave it the way it is. This side is more. Can also use a little bit of white paint later to capture some more details. But that looks pretty good. And these windows also are going to be this same color pretty much. And I'll try to leave some lights. Where the the separations of the windows between each other, there's some lighter tone there, tonal value, so I'll leave that. A little bit darker there. We have that shadow up above there. I'm going to do that next. And again, I'm just trying to use this same brush the whole way through. If I can do the whole painting with this one brush, I'm going to try to do it. Maybe on the lighthouse I have to do some more details. This will be too large for the details on the lighthouse, but it's kind of fun just to try to use this same size brush for everything. Let's see if we can do it. And then there's some cerulean blue for the shadow under here, and then there's that white bit of, just have to make that a little bit and I'm just gonna go across like that. And this is just a little bit lighter. I'm going to let that dry before I put another wash over the top of that gutter. So there's a gutter across here. It's lighter than the shadow underneath here. So if I try to put in a lighter wash on that gutter right now, it's going to get lost and, you know, kind of mingle into this shadow here. So that's why I'm going to let this go and let this dry. And then we'll come back and we'll put a light wash across this gutter here. And then we're going to continue on. We're going to do our we'll do our entry door here, so we're going to mix up some of those same colors. And then I made a window up top here. I extended the window, made another extension to the top of this door here. Because I don't know, the scale didn't come out perfect here on the so I made a window there on top of the doorway, and then there's a dark line there. There's a shadow over here, and there's like that. And the same thing with this window, there's a dark shadow like that. And like that. Okay, this is and there's some steps here. Then there's the foundation here. This is a little bit, it's got that same kind of mix as the roofs and the windows and all. Okay, and then over here, we're lightening up a bit. As this goes into the distance, it gets a little lighter, the washes. That one there is a little bit different. The wash is a little bit more brown, I think, than the greenish color, so we just kind of add in some different colors in the wash. And there's a shadow along here. Some stone and cement foundation there. And we're just going to continue with the same colors And I'm just going to start with the lighthouse, and it's a little darker. Now I have to really move quickly here. So this hot press paper, it dries faster than rough paper. So that's why I had to move quick here. I have to get this. You can go over the windows. The windows are darker anyway, so you can paint right over those. And then we can add in some more dark wash here. French ultramarine blue, raw umber, maybe a little bit of burnt sienna. I'm going to see if I can get a little more dark along this here. That looks good. And we'll do the windows over here. More of the same colors. French ultramarine blue. I'm getting a nice dark now. Burnt sienna. French ultramarine blue. Burnt sienna. A little bit of the raw umber. Try to get a nice dark here. And we won't go into the lighthouse now because and if you see any kind of unpleasant marks, you can try to lift it up a little bit. That's okay. And then we'll get some windows here. Okay, so we have the windows in. And let's do some water. Okay, I'm going to take a break now. Always a good time to take a break when you've got a good amount of things painted in. And then you start to feel yourself kind of hesitating a little bit. That's usually when I know I need a break, is when I'm starting to like not move through things quickly. I'm starting to like hesitate and question a little bit more, and that's just a good time to take a break. I'm going to take a break, 10 minutes. Relax a little bit, sit down, watch a YouTube video, have a glass of coffee, cup of coffee, and then I'll come right back and start again. But I do want to take a break so that I kind of can keep my focus better. And I'll be back in just a second. And I always mention too, if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. It's that button right there on the bottom of the screen here on the right-hand side. It's real simple. You click on that, and you'll be getting all the videos we do every week. So every week we're creating new videos, and I want you to have them, be able to watch them, and work along with us here. We have at least, many thousands of people painting every weekend here all together. We're all working on the same paintings. We're having a great time here, so I want you to join along with us all, and you can check out the comments in the comment section and maybe some questions in there you might see. You can peruse through there and kind of see, what are other people thinking about this painting, some of the questions they may have. People leave great questions on my channel all the time, questions about, paintbrushes, colors, washes, different things that we're doing, designs, maybe things like that. So it's a great time to keep learning and growing in your watercolor journey, and keep working along with us here. We're having a great time, again, week after week, month after month, and year after year we're here. And I know many of you are newer to watercolor as well, so these are great to watch and try as well too. There's no reason why you can't start working on more advanced paintings while you're working on your basics and fundamentals. You can try it out, or just try a small section of a larger painting that might have more information. You can maybe do a smaller portion, maybe just a lighthouse. You might work on that, or maybe take the house and just do the house, and maybe not work on all of the components of this painting, but just maybe a few if you're just starting out. But it's all great, all good. We'll come right back and continue painting. We'll do the ocean water next. That's going to be fun. We'll mix up some really beautiful blue colors and greens for this ocean. Okay, we'll be right back. All right, so we're getting started back here. I see a couple things I'm going to start right away with here. I noticed a little bit of a darker shadow there. There was a darker shadow over here. There's a shadow over here. It's a little less. It's a little bit, this one's a little larger, this shadow over here. This one's a little bit less in size, but it's still there. And another darker shadow there. And there's a couple spots here that look like we could add some darks to that. Like that. Okay, and let's put in some. Maybe we'll do the top of the. Now this is, I'll use a smaller brush. Maybe I'll use my needlepoint brush for the top of the lighthouse. So I'm going to go with French ultramarine blue. I'll mix more French ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, maybe a little black, ivory black, and a little bit of Payne's gray, just to give it a little darker feel to it. And then we're gonna here, there's quite a bit of dark under the cone of the lighthouse there, and then there's a lot of steel members here that make up the light. And that's why I use my needlepoint brush here. I want to make sure I stay careful and minimal with this, because if it's very delicate, fine work doing the top of the lighthouse, the cone, and the steel work and things like this. Now, if we go with another thing too I forgot to mention is, it's probably better to do the sky wash first and then do this last. But I just, sometimes when I'm painting, I lose track of things, and that's one thing. I did lose track on this, but it's not. I'm going to go with a simple sky anyway, a more simple sky. So, but if you wanted to do more of a exciting looking sky or something with stormy clouds, you might have a problem, because you do this first, and then what happens if water starts to kind of go into this section? You could also paint this, finish this, and then cover it with tape. I know artists use tape to cover things when they paint. That works too. I guess you have to kind of feel out what you like to do with your watercolors, and if I used to use that liquid frisket, but I don't use it anymore. I find that it's too difficult. Like it winds up not looking natural with the painting. But some people swear by it, so you're the artist. You can use whatever you like to use for your techniques, your methods to painting. I just give my ideas on things, and that's all. And this up here is light. And if I start to see that I can lift up a little bit of paint there, like that. And then I dry off my brush a little bit, pick up a little more of that black mix, which is black, ivory black, Payne's gray, French ultramarine blue, and burnt sienna, just to give it a little bit of a interesting mix of colors versus just one color. And there we go. And that's good. Maybe I can... There we go. Sometimes we can do this with our needlepoint brush. You can kind of get the tops of the windows a little more square. That usually looks better. Then I rinse the brush off, dry it off, and then just use the damp part of the brush just to blend that in a little bit. Very carefully. That looks good. All right, so now let's do the water, the ocean water. So we'll go back to our number 6 sable brush, and I think we use cerulean blue here. So let's keep with cerulean, maybe a little bit of cobalt. Green, some sap green too, French ultramarine. So I'm just trying to mix a little bit of I'm going to do a darker wash out here. You could also put a piece of tape across this part of the ocean back here, so that it's a little straighter of a line. That's up to you. I'm going to rinse the brush off, dry off the water, and then start getting the green water here. And then I'm just going to try to blend that in. And again, that really dries fast. This hot press paper, the smooth paper, it kind of really dries fast. You put that paint wash on there and it just immediately, it's drying quick. So I'm trying to blend this in and go a little quicker now. Cobalt blue. And I'm not going to get too fancy with white. Maybe I'll do a little white wave there. A couple there. And there's some. Good. And then we go back over here. Sap green, a little bit. French ultramarine blue. And I'll do the same thing here. I'll get my first line there. The very, and if you go over a line, you can use some white paint later. Like that. Maybe a little bit of darker. Then some green mix here. then some cobalt blue. And there we go, cobalt blue, some green mixed in there, maybe a little white wave, some white crashing waves here a little bit. Looks good. There's going to be a bush over here, and we'll make it a darker, maybe a darker bush. That'll kind of make a nice, interesting eye catcher over here. And we've got this here. I'm going to start working on the grass. So that's going to be, since we're mixing a lot of the same colors, you can mix and match colors as long as you kind of keep a track and make sure it's not getting too muddy. So I'm adding some chromium of oxide for some of the grass colors back here. The paper looks really good though. When you use hot press paper like this, the smooth paper, it actually has a really interesting texture to it when you're kind of like finishing up in the wash dries. And then we're going to go with some olive green mix in here. So I'm going to try to go in and get some olive green like that, just to mix in some here and there. And then this is probably where I go a little faster. I speed up a little bit because I don't want to have too much I just want to sort of keep it loose and free in the front area here and not get bogged down with too much details or hesitating on the brush strokes. I'm just trying to move it right along quick here, like that. There's some shadow over here, so let me make some shadow, cerulean blue, French ultramarine blue, raw umber. There's some shadow over here. Okay, and I'm just going to add a little bit of that cadmium lemon yellow there. And then right away get back into the greens and blues a little bit. Chromium of oxide again. Maybe I'll pick up across there like that. And I'll do some splashing too, just to give some things some more texture. Like that. And you can lift up a few if you think there's too many there. You can just quick tap and Okay, so I'll leave that light there. And then I decided to maybe do something a little different here. There's some bushes and things here. So I'm just going to try to put some things in just to and I'm just going to add some splashes here just to give it some variety. And again, I find that if I try to leave this a little bit, downplay it, the foreground here, I think I'm better off. The excitement of the painting is the lighthouse and the house and the ocean, so I don't want to get too much I don't want to get too many interesting details in the foreground so much. I might just add something here. I think I'm going to leave this like concrete instead of making it wood. I'm going to make this like concrete. So I'm going to do some fine speckles here. I could take a So I'm just going to take my brush, get some of the greenish brown, and just do some speckles. And this is going to be like concrete there, concrete sidewalk. I think that looks good. And I think that's looking fine. A little bit of green, cerulean blue, French ultramarine blue. And then push over there. And we'll make some bushes and things over here. And I'll go with some raw umber as well. And a little bit of shadow color under there. And I think everything is looking pretty good. I think we'll do the sky wash now. I'm going to rinse, get some fresh water. Whenever I do a sky wash, I will get a fresh water. But I'm going to take a break quick too, just to, again, I've been working about 20 minutes or so, so it's a good time for a break. We'll let some of this dry here as well, and we'll get started on the sky in just a second, and that will be the finishing up of the painting. All right, we're getting back started again, and I always like to mention again, please, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe right down here on the bottom of the right-hand side of the screen, the subscribe button. If you hit that button there, you'll be alerted each time we have a new video, and we're always doing new videos, creating new content here on this channel each week, so you're getting everything watercolor. We're doing seascapes, landscapes, lighthouse paintings, boats. We do flower paintings, still life paintings, figure paintings. So we try to do everything watercolor. Great place to learn new techniques, new methods, new approaches to your watercolors. Guarantee you're going to have better looking watercolors. If you're coming here every week and watching our videos, you're going to have a wonderful time, and you're also going to learn lots of new things. So please, keep coming back, watching the videos, and I want to thank everyone too that leaves comments and all the great compliments. It's greatly appreciated, and it keeps me really excited to keep coming back and doing more videos and more paintings. So let's finish this one up with some beautiful sky wash. We're going to take some cobalt blue. I think we're going to keep the sky wash real simple, just cobalt blue maybe, with a little bit of that raw umber in there. Maybe a little cerulean too, just a touch of cerulean blue. We're going to keep it light, and we're also going to pre-wet the paper a little bit. And I'm going to pre-wet the paper around the lighthouse with our needlepoint brush, so that the paint, the wash that we do for the sky wash is not going to leak and infiltrate into our lighthouse. So I'm going to do a very light dampening of the paper around the lighthouse, the top of the lighthouse mostly. That'll be fine. And this side over here as well. Wherever that dark black paint is, that'll get reactivated and start to smudge. So we don't want that as much. We should have painted, I think I mentioned this earlier, we should have painted the sky wash first before we did those darks at the top of the lighthouse, the cone of the lighthouse and the light and the railings. But we did it, and we can work around that, and that's the solution right here. There's other solutions you can use too, but I think this is the best one. I like the best, but you can try other ones too. I always say experiment when you're doing your watercolors. Always experiment. Try all kinds of different things. As many things as you can learn and try, do it. And so I did that. Dampen that there. Then I will also dampen the paper a little bit with some clean water. Fresh, clean water. Just a little bit across the paper. That's going to give us a little bit of an interesting look. Not everywhere, but here and there. And I'll also dampen the edge along the water very carefully and just stay a little bit above the water, tiny bit, like that. And the same thing over here. I'm just going to dampen that a little bit, like that. Okay, get our wash here. And I like to do that just nice and light Nice light wash. If you go over the lighthouse a little bit, no big deal. You take a little tissue and just blot up. Like that. I might have smudged over here a little bit. No big deal. Smudges look good, I think, actually. You could take some white paint too later and cover that over with a little bit of white paint, make it less noticeable. Not a problem at all. And I'll just try to tie in some more things here. And again, if you have a little bit of a smudge or something, no big deal. Maybe I'll try to see, I can just scrub that out a little bit and that's fine. And then go over with a little more of that blue. Perfect. And I'd rather make this all kind of uniform over here so that that doesn't, it's less tension over here. We'll just kind of blend that all over here, the blue, like that. Maybe a touch of purple. So I just add a little bit of purple in the sky, and then I add a few more little bits of purple ultramarine violet. And a little bit of shadow there. That's looking pretty good. I tend to like a little bit of cadmium lemon yellow. In a couple of spots on the house. Makes it seem like it's like sunny, like there's a really warm feel, that little bit of a cadmium lemon yellow there. And maybe the same up here. Just a few little spots here and there can go a long way. And a touch of orange. A touch of orange down here. At the base of the sky. There we go. And a little more of that orange over here. And that's looking good. And I think, what else do? We have to, let's do the chimney. That's like a burnt sienna. A burnt sienna, a little bit of alizarin crimson, maybe. That looks like a little bit of alizarin crimson, and little bit of brown. So I'll take that, mix that up, then but the only thing is this is still damp, so I'm going to wait till that dries 100%. So we'll take one more break, and then once we do that, we'll come back and finish up the chimney and do a few more little touches of maybe some white highlight here and there. I think we can maybe get a few highlights in here of white, titanium white paint, just to recapture some lights that we might have covered over with some paint, some washes. So we'll do that next. We'll do the chimney once this dries, and a couple more lights by the windows here, and I think we'll be all set. All right, so we've got to the point where the paper now is 100% dry again. The sky wash is perfectly dry. It was about a half an hour, 45 minutes I let this dry, the sky wash, so we're fine. We can go in, we can do our chimney here. So I'll use my needlepoint brush again, and we can go right in and do our chimney here. And if ever if you have a line that goes off a little bit, you can lift up a little bit of paint. And then we can also add a little bit of white paint to that. I went off the line a little bit. The chimney in the picture, the painting is pretty straight, but I think we're okay. We'll make this a little bit larger. That's fine. And then I can maybe make a little bit darker line across here on this side for a little bit of a shadow over there. And yeah, that looks pretty good. I noticed my I needed more dark there. Also, I needed some dark where the light actually is, but not super dark, but the light is right in the center, the actual physical lamp that lights up at night. That's in the center, very, very center, directly under the center of the cone there. So we'll get that like that. Looks good. We also had a little bit of a shadow we can put here. That extends over like so. It starts over here like this and goes across like that. Looks good. And I also noticed there's a little bit of a darker, some grass and things over here, so I just did a little touch up there. There's a little bit of a shadow underneath these roofs here, underneath the eaves. That's important to get those. And then here too. Very slightly, but there are shadows there. And then there's a little bit of a darker shadow here. You can see that. That'll lighten up a little bit. So always remember, your paints are always going to dry a little bit lighter. Once you put them on the paper, they will dry lighter all the time. That kind of takes a little, it takes some time to kind of get the feel for that, but it always does. Paint always dries a little bit lighter unless you're putting paint on directly straight out of the tube. So if we're doing directly straight out of the tube paint, then this is a little bit of a wash on that. Not a lot, but a little. And we notice that we'll use a little bit of white paint. To touch up just a few spots. And we have that black paint on that lighthouse there. And what happens is if you just have that black paint like this and then there's no more black paint anywhere else in the painting, it does tend to kind of look like it's out of place, out of harmony with the rest of the painting. So that's why I'm going to add a little black over here, a couple spots maybe, just to try to see if I can balance that. Maybe here there'll be a little black there. That black with its ivory black and Payne's gray, and then some of the French ultramarine blue. And we have it in some of the windows. And put a little bit of extra shade there. A little bit of shadows under there. But I think that looks pretty good. Now, I'm trying to think if that's pretty good. I think we'll get just a tiny bit of some titanium white in a tube here. And then what we'll do is add a little bit of yellow ochre to it. And then I'll take some of that. Sometimes there's a little bit of liquid at the top of the tube, so I'll take that out and wipe it on a tissue so I can get some of that paint, the actual paint in there. There's a little bit of that liquid gum in there. Now I'm going to try to recapture a couple lights here. These should all be even. I'm thinking they're about like that. They go up to about where the shadow is up top, where that shadow is across. And there's some like this. So that'll be good for there. And so if you have to, just a few spots, if you want to touch up a few spots that you went over before, that's fine. Do it now. So I'm doing it now. You can see I'm kind of just neatening up the windows a little bit. Not everywhere, but you know, trying to. I think that looks pretty good there. One spot there, maybe over here. Better. Over here, maybe like that. Good. Fine. There's some white there. There's white there. Then there's there and here. And then if we do just the slight amount of just a little line, not even that much, that just kind of good, just a little bit of so if I just do a few of these quickly. And I don't put much paint on the brush at all now at this point, just, and then just a quick, like this, it just makes it look a little better. Okay, good. Here. That looks good there. And these are the downspouts, and they kind of pick up a little bit of light. And there's a couple spots here that pick up a little bit of the light bouncing off the trim there and the gutters. There's some more there. Okay, that's good. I will call this a finished painting. It's what's, I guess, trying to avoid overworking things. That can really be a problem. So over the years, I've kind of gotten used to just under finishing things and then leaving it go. We can always go back in later, like in a day or two or whatever, and kind of go back in and say, all right, I need to add something. But for the most part, under finishing is better. I'll do a couple of these, maybe some light. And that's good. Okay, I hope you had a really fun time doing this painting along with me. Let's keep getting together every week, creating new paintings just like this. We're doing all kinds of subject matter. We're using the same techniques and methods over and over and over. So the more we use these techniques over and over and over, you're going to see how they just become part of your style and your painting style and your methods and techniques. They'll become your own, and you'll use them. And then you'll also do spin-offs and change things to maybe you'll change some of the things that you watch me do here. You'll change and you'll do different things on your own that you'll find as you go that you like more, or, you know. So everyone has their own style, and I guess the main idea is we're all here together. We're kind of painting along, doing the same thing, and then eventually you'll start to experiment with other things too as well, and come up with a different maybe style or, you know, way of doing different things with your paintings. But for the most part, you learn all the fundamentals here of colors, mixing, light, shadows, tonal values, the approach, ways to paint that are easier so you can get through a painting a lot quicker and maybe more efficiently as you go. But we learn all these things as we go every week, so please subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and join along every week. We're here for you, and let's have a great time together, and we'll see you on the next video.